Hello, hello, here we go, it's the Kopite podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Squad Number Show. It's episode 5, which means it's shirt number 5 of the Premier League era. If you're new to the show, this is the show where we basically look at all the players that have worn a particular squad number throughout the Premier League era when squad numbers were more official and you had to have a number. You couldn't share your mate's number. There was no arguments, there was no fighting. Everyone got their own number. And it's still a big thing today. So today it is number 5. So it's squad number 5. Mick, how you feeling? You're getting tested today.
I think like most of them, the first couple, I'm probably going to get the wrong way round. Then obviously as you get towards present day, I should be all right. I hope. I know there's not that many of them, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, as a disclaimer of this, obviously under the current restrictions that the way me and Mick do this, we spring it on each other. It's basically a case of, you know, so he can't cheat, I can't cheat. We have a bit of fun, and then you guys can play along at home as well. That's the idea behind it. So here we go then. So first one, who was the first player to wear squad number 5 officially in the Premier League era?
See, it's either Mark Wright. Is it Mark Wright?
It's Mark Wright. There we go. Let's just, let's not do the Evers. Well done, mate. It's Mark Wright. It was. Signed from Derby in 1991 for 2.2 million. It was based off the back of a really, really good World Cup that he had, and he's had some strong seasons for Derby County. Obviously, he was the captain. And signed by Graham Souness. Very, like I said, strong World Cup in 1990. I think he was well renowned for having a really good time with England over there in Italy. Captained Liverpool to the 1992 FA Cup win over Sunderland. And Mark Wright played 210 games for Liverpool, scoring 9 goals and a 48% win record for the club. So not too bad. Memories for me, Mick, I sort of remember him as being a defender who was quite solid, bringing the ball out from the back. He was really good with that. Very dominant in the air and just hampered by injuries towards the end of his Liverpool career, which forced him to retire. But yeah, did you make of Mark Wright?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It's not, my memories aren't too strong of him because I think, didn't he leave in like 97 or something? Did you say 98, something like that?
Yeah, 98, mate, yeah.
I was only been like 8 or 9 at the time, so I was still getting to grips with Premier League sticker books and all that. That was my main concern, getting me stickers in the right order and whatever. But no, like you said, solid defender. Obviously, he's had like a lot of injuries, and if he was maybe playing in nowadays, he might have had a more prolonged career due to the obviously better treatment you can get nowadays. So you look to the likes of Jamie Redknapp and players like that, you think maybe they would have a better shot in this era rather than theirs, but it wasn't to be. But yeah, solid defender, and yeah, done well for the club during his time, even though we weren't too great in that period he was here.
Yeah, that's a good point, mate. We weren't very good in the 90s, especially in the league. Cup runs we were sort of okay with, but yeah, a solid defender. I think when the likes of Phil Babb, John Scales and Neil Ruddock started getting signed, I think probably Mark Wright knew with injuries and stuff like that, his time was on the way. And like I said, you get hampered by injuries, and unfortunately it did force him to retire in 1998. But a centre-half playing 210 games for Liverpool, it's a good ratio. And to be fair, most people will look back at Mark Wright as quite a decent defender for Liverpool to have, considering his pedigree that he had previously before he signed for Liverpool. So, yeah, quite a lot of adulation for me from Mark Wright. I did like him as a player. I thought he was a nice man. Speaks very highly of the club still today. And we like Mark Wright. Yeah. So then, who's the second person to wear the number 5 shirt for Liverpool?
Well, see, I thought I was going to get these two mixed up, but now that I know that it was definitely Mark Wright, I know that it was, I think it was Steve Staunton.
Certainly was Steve Staunton, mate. And like you said, you could have got them mixed up because actually Staunton wore it officially in his second spell with Liverpool. So those of you that don't know, he was signed originally in 1986, and where he won the league and FA Cup with Liverpool towards the back end of the 80s. But then obviously he left, and then we'd re-signed him again in 1998 under Roy Evans. But he wasn't really used. He was used sparingly, obviously to fill gaps and stuff like that. Obviously, he could play left back, he could play centre half sometimes. Obviously, primarily used as a full back. He won 52% of his games overall for both spells in Liverpool. 148 games and 7 goals. Thoughts, memories, Steve Staunton, mate?
Yeah, I think he was a great player, wasn't he? Like getting down the down the line, whipping balls into the box, things like that. Solid player. And whenever you see him as like you said on Mark Wright, whenever you see him as a pundit or whatever, he's always got glowing remarks about Liverpool, and he's always got something nice to say. So I think I don't know if he goes down in the cult hero type bracket where he didn't really hit the heights, but he was a good player. But it was probably just before, like I said, just before I started really appreciating. Like, I think when you get to like 15, 16, maybe you start appreciating the players more, don't you? Stuff like that. I think maybe just before I got into that period. So, but obviously, still know he was a great player, and obviously, I think between the two spells he had at the club, he was always gave 100% and a good solid player.
He was, mate. And like I said, you just touched it on it there. I think the older generation of Liverpool fans will obviously appreciate Staunton a little bit more. I mean, I remember being told about his hat-trick against Wigan Athletic, which was quite interesting in a cup game. And I think from our age, I'm a little bit older than yourself, so I do remember him playing for Liverpool a bit more. But yeah, his best days were behind him when he started his second spell at Liverpool. But I think he was linked with Liverpool every year after he'd left. So it was always a player that everybody wanted him to come back and stuff. And yeah, I think it was this shirt I do remember him playing in. I've got vivid memories of him in that shirt. So yeah, again, good solid player for Liverpool. And even though officially he had the number 5 shirt in the Premier League here and not the best of times at Liverpool, we certainly appreciate him for all the work he did for his first spell at Anfield, obviously. So now, mate, we come to the part where I obviously expect you to get full marks now on the next ones. So who was the third person to wear the number 5 shirt? So Staunton leaves. Who takes over from the number 5 shirt?
So it's 2001, is it? 2002?
I'm not telling you. I'm not giving you the answers. Could have been earlier. I don't know.
Nah, well, I'm pretty sure then that it's Milan Baros.
It was Milan Baros. It was indeed. Signed from Banik Ostrava in 2001. Obviously, I think he was a little bit overlooked the day we signed him, because who was signed the same day as him? And he was in the same press conference.
Ooh. Wasn't it Anelka, was it?
It certainly was. It was Nicholas Anelka, yeah, it was, yeah. So obviously people forget that, because it was really the 2002-03 season where Baros made his impact, because obviously he was still on loan, and he was hampered by injuries backwards and forwards between his parent club and coming back. But yeah, it was Nicholas Anelka that was in there, and obviously I remember Phil Thompson doing the pointing of the fingers, because they said who's going to wear the number 9 shirt, and he pointed to Baros and was like, oh no, it's going to be Nicholas Anelka, sort of doing that. Yeah, and I think that was the whole thing, wasn't it? Because everyone was so excited about getting Nicholas Anelka, and Baros was sort of overshadowed a little bit. But obviously, like you said, he arrived officially in the 2002-03 season, scored on his debut, got 2 goals at the Reebok Stadium, as it was known back then, against Bolton Wanderers. 12 goals in his first season, which was absolutely fantastic return for him, given it's a debut season for a young lad. But unfortunately, obviously, broke his ankle, if you remember, at Blackburn. So he was out for 5 months. And it's actually the same game that Carragher had done his leg as well, in the same game there. And then he had a really, really good Euro 2004. He was top goal scorer. Czechs got to the semi, so if it wasn't for his contribution, they wouldn't have got there. And obviously the excitement was building for us, wasn't it? Going into the 04-05 season, the fact that we've got this Czech striker now, he's been top goal scorer at the Euros. Everyone was talking about him and talking about Wayne Rooney. And then we go into the 04-05 season and struggles for goals, really. I think he only gets 11 in the first 4 or 5 months of the season. And one of them was a hat-trick against Crystal Palace. But he did go on to finish that 2005 season with a Champions League winners medal. So 48% win percentage, 108 games, 27 goals. Somewhat being embarrassed for us, pal.
I think he goes under the radar a little bit in terms of how good he actually was. I think he was a good little player. For me, when I watched him, like I said, with the previous occupant of number 5, Steve Staunton, that was probably just before I started to appreciate. When we got Baros, that's when I was like, I could really start to appreciate the players now. But for me, he was a good player. He knew where the goal was, but I always just remember him picking the ball up wherever, like 30 yards out, and he just would never pass. He'd run to the corner flag with his head down. Just running like this, just not picking his head up. And sometimes he'd rip the whole team and score a goal, or he'd make an assist or whatever. But yeah, just stuff like that. And like you said, Euro 2004, where he gets the golden boot, was just like, it wasn't like a surprise because we knew how good he was, but it was just doing it for that Czech team who had some good players in there. Was nice that he was at Liverpool at the time and he did it. That kind of helped his profile a little bit, didn't it? Especially when didn't he move on to Villa after that, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, for $6.5 million.
Yeah, no, but good player. Like you said, he had his injury troubles and that, but played in the Champions League final, didn't he, against Milan? I think did he come off towards the end, did he? Yeah, I think like last 5 minutes, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, it's those times where like we never had the greatest of teams, did we? Really, it wasn't blessed pure superstars, but we had like obviously Gerrard and Carragher and all them, and then having Barros up front. Like you said, when he came in with Anelka, and obviously we're going to get to episode number 9 at some point, so we'll chat more about that Anelka Juve conundrum more then. But
when you say that name, whoa.
No, but yeah, good player, and I was sad to see him go when he went to Villa, but like you said, the injuries took the toll, and it was probably the right time for him to go.
I think so, mate. His contribution, especially in that 04-05 season, in terms of his work rate, goes unnoticed with him. And like I said, before, he only got a handful of goals from a striker's perspective. But double figures is nothing to be sniffed at, especially with, like you said before, the way we were playing. But popped up with some decent goals in Champions League against Bayer Leverkusen. He was on hand. I mean, we weren't blessed with many strikers. Cisse had been out for the majority of the season as well, hadn't he? So we were relying heavily on him, and then when he didn't play, it was Neil Mellor and stuff. And so everyone sort of made that contribution. Obviously, I think everybody, for me, the influence that he had because of the Czech connection with obviously Patrick Berger before he left, and then obviously Vladdy being there as well. It was quite an influence, and it might sound really bad, this, but I loved Barros' energy when he in that first season as a young lad, like I said, scoring against Bolton with his skinhead and just tearing defences apart was great. And like I said, I liked his hat-trick against Palace. But one of my favourite memories of Milan Barros is when Champions League final, Smicer scores his goal, but Barros, his arm's in the way, and he just does this like manoeuvre just to get out the way of the ball. And if it hits his hand, it doesn't go in and all that sort of stuff. But it's just he does so well to get out of the way of Smic's shot. And it's little things like that where you don't think about, in terms of contributions and things. So again, Milan Barros I've got no qualms against the lads. Appreciate what he did for the club, and you can't say no more, really, can you?
Yeah, and the celebration with after Alonso's rebound pen, where he just absolutely toppled the ground, dead on him, like, what's going on there, lads?
Yeah, I was thinking, what are you playing out there, mate? It's not rugby. Yeah. But that was funny, that. But no, mate, we thank Milan Barros for his contribution, especially 2005 season. So the next person, player number 4 to wear number 5 for Liverpool. Who was it?
It's got to be Danny Agger, surely.
It's Daniel Agger. And we could do a full podcast on Daniel Agger, couldn't we, really? But we'll try and keep it as short as we can without going into too much detail. But we will do, because he is a cult hero at Liverpool. Yeah. Signed from Bromby, 2006. For 5.8 million, absolute bargain. The young lad signing for Liverpool as a young centre half, and at the time we had Carragher and Hyypiä, and you think no one's going to dislodge either one of those, but Daniel Agger does that exact thing. He managed to take out Hyypiä out the side, which is no mean feat, considering Sami Hyypiä is one of the greatest defenders ever in world football, in my opinion. He's got Agger's goal against West Ham. Will go down as one of the best goals we've seen at the Kop end, especially from the centre half. Fantastic strike. The performances he put in the Champions League, especially against Chelsea in the semi-finals, keeping the score as low as it was, and then he came up with the equalising goal on aggregate at Anfield. What a day that was! One of my favourite ever days at Anfield. That. Then unfortunately, obviously, 07-08 did his metatarsal. When the metatarsal was invented, he broke his metatarsal. And then he was in and out of the side 08-09, sort of came back in the latter stages of that 08-09 season. Formed a really good partnership with Martin Skrtel. Obviously, you'll all remember at the beginning of 2012, season when there was those very, very, very strong links with Barcelona, and it did look like at one point I think we all thought he might go and get tempted, especially with the way the club was at the time and the years that they've been through. But no, signs that new deal, as You'll Never Walk Alone, tattooed on his knuckles, and he's staying forever then, which was fantastic. Made vice captain 2013-14, but then at the end of that season he did go back home to Bromby and then retired in 2016, and has now got his own sewage company, and is a very, very keen tattoo artist, and has got his percentage in the tattoo business as well. I'm going to shut up about Daniel Agger. What's your favourite memories of him, Mick?
I think you've covered them all there, lads. Yeah, I was thinking of, obviously the first thing I thought of when you told me I got that one right was the Chelsea goal. That Chelsea goal where it's like, I mean, I think we spoke to Zenden about it, didn't we? Bolo Zenden about that free kick on that podcast, which you should go and check out in the playlists under former players. That's a good little interview. Yeah, we chatted about that and just what it worked on the training ground, just like it just worked to perfection. And like when stuff like that off the training ground works on the pitch, and you're trusting one of your centre backs to have a shot at goal from that range, that says a lot about how much the rest of the team trusted his technique. And for a centre back, his technique was up there with the best I've seen. Like left-footed, great on the ball, got a great shot, great passer, not blessed with the best of speed, but pretty quick. Positionally wise, great. Like you said, formed that great partnership with Martin Skirtle. They went together pretty well. Obviously, Skirtle as like the rougher up, and Agger just as the little Rolls Royce next to him. But yeah, great player. Like you said, getting You Never Walk Alone tattooed on his knuckles was just another cog to endear him to the Liverpool fans even more, because we loved them even before that. And then the way that you said the Barcelona links, the way he just brushed them off and said, "I'm not going anywhere," signed a new contract, and then got that tattoo. It was just like, yeah, he's an adopted Scouser. And there's a lot of them recently, like the likes of Dirk Kuyt and Lucas Leiva and stuff like that. But he's definitely one of them, and he's definitely one of my favourite Liverpool players. And I just wish he wouldn't have had so many bad injuries, because we could have won so much more with him in the team if his body was 100% right, and if his body didn't give up on him, basically, because we would have him in the team alongside some of the better players, and him performing as the best he can, we would have definitely maybe challenged higher up the table or got to a couple more finals or whatever with him in the team. But no, definitely one of my favourites.
Yeah, mate, and you've just said they're trying to, probably win things a little bit more with him. I think a lot of people say about the 13-14 season when we were quite inconsistent defensively. Maybe having Daniel Agger for the full of that season, because he was in and out of the side again, wasn't he? And then it was a shame that season, because again, he's one of those players that you sort of think deserved something major with the club. I mean, I look back at the 2007 Champions League final, and that one gets stuck for me there, because there's quite a lot of players in that squad that deserve something, the likes of Pepe Reina, the likes of Mascherano, Agger, Dirk Kuyt, who deserved something big like that. So that's why the Champions League final is a little bit in 2007 is a little bit thingy for me, because Daniel Agger deserves a lot more than what he won at Liverpool anyway. But I mean, for a centre half, 55% of his games he'd won, 232 games and 14 goals. It's such a tremendous contribution. Like you said, he will go down as a Liverpool legend, and we thank you, Daniel Agger, for your contributions to this fantastic club. So, mate, there's only one more left. Who is it?
Thiago? No, listen. Gini Wijnaldum. Big Genie.
Oh, fucking hell, mate.
Or
yeah,
little
Gini Wijnaldum.
Whatever you want to call him.
Gini Wijnaldum. Signed from Newcastle, 25 million quid. Stats-wise, I'll just go through them quickly. He's won 67% of his games, which is incredible. He's played 188 games so far, 19 goals so far, and 15 assists. Always had a habit of scoring at home, didn't he? It took him a while to register his first away goal. That came against Roma, the Champions League. And then he finally got one away from home in the Premier League against Spurs in 18-19. Speaking of 18-19, he played 35 games in 18-19 after being a stalwart for Liverpool for years, and sort of helped Klopp building that era and builds onto the next level. He plays a lot of games in 18-19, even though Keita and Fabinho are in there as well. Just a testament to the lad as well. We're going to cover the Barcelona stuff, obviously. His contribution to the team is incredible. But at the beginning, Mick, I just want to talk about Gini Wijnaldum in terms of what you thought when we signed him. Did you know much about him for a start? You know, he's playing for Newcastle, he gets relegated.
Yeah, I'd seen bits of him, obviously, and then I think he didn't score like two or a hat-trick against us one time.
I think he got a couple. I know.
I think in that game I was thinking, Jesus Christ, he's good. But even like now, he's not the most flashy player. Like he scores a lot for the Netherlands because he plays in a different position. Like we've touched on that before, he plays in a completely different position for them than he does for us in a Klopp system. But he's not like the type of player where he signs and you go, oh yeah, that's the signing we need. That's the signing we need to push on, because he's not that type of player. That he's more suited as like a systematic player where you put him in somewhere, you tell him to do a job and he'll do it perfectly. He's not the type of player to come in and bag you 10 goals and 10 assists and actually make a transparent effect on the pitch. It's more like a behind the scenes type thing where he does the dirty work and stuff like that. But then I'm glad that he's had these moments against Barcelona where he's came off on the bench. He's been fuming that he's been left on the bench, and he goes on to do what he did in that game, and he'll go down in folklore for that contribution in that game. And it's just sad that it didn't happen again in the Atletico game where he gets the goal again, and we're back on track, and then all of a sudden we goalkeeping headers and we're fucked. But no, I wasn't like, yes, we're signing Wijnaldum. I was like, it's a good player, and I hoped he'd go on to do good things. Which, when you look at his honours list in the last 2 years, it's like, fucking hell, it's mental that how good he's gone on to become for us.
Definitely. I mean, I'll be honest, mate. I knew practically nothing about him apart from when he played against us. You know, it's one of the things, you just don't pay attention to the teams that are at the bottom majorly. I mean, I didn't back then anyway. That was before I was doing any of this anyway. But it's, yeah, I mean, when we signed him for the amount that we did, I just thought, right, well, we must have a good player here, because you don't, from a relegated side, you don't command those types of fees really unless you've been, a massive name type thing, or if you're Andy Carroll type situation from Newcastle. So, I mean, I was excited by him because, you know, you're always excited by a new shiny toy anyway, aren't you? So, and at the time when he'd signed, anything was good to push on to that next level after the season that we'd had of missing out on a Europa League spot. So it was great for us to have that type of player in a box-to-box midfielder. And I always remember being at one end of the we would be at one end of the pitch, and then he'd be at the other end of the pitch smashing a header in against City. You know, that's one of my great memories that I've got of Gini Wijnaldum. But one of my favourite memories, though, of Gini Wijnaldum is last game of the season against Middlesbrough. We're struggling, and he hits that first goal to go in 1-0 at half time. And that was massive for us because it then pushed us on, relaxed us in that second half to command I think it was a 3-0 win at the end of the day. And it got us into the Champions League, and then the rest is history after that, getting to Kiev, Madrid, everything. And it's moments like that. It's like the same when people go on about the shaking, the holding hands and bowing to the cop when we drew against West Brom. That was a moment, and there's a lot of things that go under the radar about that moment. And same with that Gini Wijnaldum moment. He was the catalyst to that happening, but also he was the catalyst to building this squad where it is today. And he's like him, along with Lallana, deserve all the plaudits for that, don't they?
Yeah, and it's just, like you said, it's like a domino effect, isn't it? With like those type of moments to go into, like when you've got to the heights that we have, you can then look back and appreciate those moments as like, that was like an important like segment in it. And like you said, that West Brom thing, we still see rival fans on Twitter ripping us about that. And it's like, well, it wasn't a celebration of I think it was a 1-1 draw, wasn't it? Some shit like that. It was a celebration of how the fans and team can unite. And even though we're a bit shit, you can make us better by standing alongside us. And that was, like you said, it was another cog. And then the Middlesbrough goal, where we went on to win 3-0. It's like stuff like that where if it was someone else, maybe they'd get more plaudits, but because it's Gini Wijnaldum, I think he's one of them players where I don't think he gets quite the credit he deserves, because, like I said, he's not a flashy player. He's not going to score 30 yarders or whipping like Trent like free kicks and assists and corners and stuff like that. He's a gritty player. He's a solid player. He'll give you 100%, and and technically, I don't think he gets the play that he deserves, because technically he's great on the ball, strong. He's everything you want in that position on the left-hand side of the three midfield. If I had to choice at anyone in the world, I'd still pick Gini Wijnaldum.
Yeah, it's a good point, mate. We'll finish. Well, we'll talk about his greatest moment probably in a Liverpool shirt was the performance against Barcelona. Obviously not very happy about being left out on the side. And then Andy Robbo gets injured and he comes on, and I still can't believe we did it. You know, I'm sat here now and still can't believe it. But mate, what a contribution and what a performance that was.
Yeah, it was just like, I remember just thinking, especially after we got like the early goal and stuff, and you're thinking, is it going to happen? And then Robbo goes off, and then he comes on, and then like that moment, like you see that a lot on Twitter now, like that like screenshot of Wijnaldum getting subbed on. It's like a moment that changed the game, and we went on to win 4-0, and we got through and ended up beating Spurs in the final. Like, it's just stuff like that where, like I said, you'll go down in folklore for that performance, and coming on and being absolutely pissed off for getting left on the bench, which you should be in such a game like that. You'd be fuming, wouldn't you? Especially if you're considered the first team like Gini is. But yeah, for me, I'm glad, like, he still hasn't signed the contract yet, but at this moment in time. But we're obviously hoping that he will. It looks like that he's teasing us on Instagram and Twitter with the little caption this with a picture of Hendo jumping up in the air like made up. So I imagine that's going to get announced over the course of the next couple of days, or hopefully a week or so. We can get that boxed off. But what a player! And I hope, I know he's 30. I think he's 30 this year, is he? Yeah, 30 in September, I think. So he is getting on, but still, players like that, like you said, him and the likes of Adam Lallana's, like, raised that bar, and they set the boundaries and set the tempo for everything that came after it. So keeping him in and around this team for as long as we can is the best thing for all parties, I think. Yeah.
He's 30 in September. Are you going to that, Aya? Is that how you knew it was September? Have you got an invite to his 30th?
Is it in September?
That's what you just said.
All right, no. No. I think I was just looking on Instagram the other day, and I'm just like, I'll see if I've got it in the post off him.
Well, just let me know how the party is, mate. You know what I mean? But no, like, I echo what you say there. At the time of recording, Gini Wijnaldum is still a Liverpool player, and we all hope and pray that he stays a Liverpool player. And we also hope that we bring in extra people as well. I'm just going to put a disclaimer out there. It's not anything against Thiago. I do like him as a player. I think he's very good, and he'll add something to the squad. But I don't want Gini Wijnaldum to leave because of it. But yeah, mate, again, Gini Wijnaldum, fantastic. So there's been, it's not many people that have worn the number 5 shirt. It's not really a shirt that's changed hands quite a bit. There's sort of quite some long-standing players, really, and it's a number that doesn't get used. And yeah, it annoyed me that Milan Baros had picked number 5 though, because that always grated me. The striker with number 5, just it done me head in for ages. But no, mate, would you like to pick your favourite out of the 5?
Oh, I think I've got to probably pick Aga, just for pure, like I said, the stuff that he did, the injuries he went through, signing a new contract, getting Walk tattooed on him. He's from fucking Denmark at the end of the day. Like, he's just, great player. And I think probably Gini is a close second. Like, it would be out of those two, like I said, because the first two I don't have too much strong memories on them. Obviously, I really enjoyed the time Milan Baros at the club, but he wasn't the greatest player. But yeah, definitely out to Gini and Aga. What about you?
Oh no, this is your show, mate. So I'm just the host. I'm asking you the questions.
Oh, okay.
No, I'd probably choose the same, to be fair, mate. Just from Daniel Aga, but obviously let's just see what else Gini wins in a Liverpool shirt. See how long he stays for. But no, mate, that was the Squad Number Show. That was episode 5. We will be back very, very soon with Squad Number Show number 6. Like, comment, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and we'll see you at Squad Number 6.